So here are the two books, and one of them is Sew It Yourself by Daisy Braid, and the other one is Fashion Sewing by Carole Anne Camp. It's Robin from Sheer Fun Sewing. I thought it would be a good idea to do a contrast of a book that is published more currently and also a book that has been published a little while back. So I wanted these books to be good for a beginner sewist, but also at a level that would give you some challenge. Now, one of the things that I really liked about Daisy's book is that she's got a getting started section, and she talks about understanding your fabrics and your materials and measuring yourself. And I really felt that it was put in a very easy to understand manner. And that's perfect for somebody who's beginning to sew. They don't want to be overloaded with sewing terms. Another thing is she tries to personalize it. There's a lot of illustrations in this book and very, very vibrant pictures. The book really centers on the theme of having fun. I think that Daisy shows that not only in her descriptions, but also in the type of patterns and also the different kinds of materials of the fabric and, a little bit of risk taking. And so there's a lot of fun in this book. Another criteria that I had was that the sewing projects would be easy, but would help you learn a bit more. So the first way that I see that is that, projects like the rectangular sleeve top, it's a very, very simple kind of top that anybody could do. And lots of pictures, lots of easy to understand instructions. Another one that I liked was the 3-tiered dress, and it's really a simple summer dress, not hard to make. Another pattern is the trace pants. Again, you can see this is a very simple pattern. Does she work at teaching you more? Well, most definitely she does. And that gets into my third criteria, giving you do-it-yourself patterns. And I really like that because do-it-yourself patterns are really perfect for a beginning sewist. A do-it-yourself pattern allows you to use your own measurements, but the pattern pieces are very simple. There's not a lot of complexity in them. But what I really like about that for a beginning sewist is that it is actually teaching you some rudimentary pattern design, so that if you want to go on and eventually maybe do some flat pattern design or learn techniques like slash and spread or pattern alterations of different types or fitting adjustments that more intermediate and advanced sewists know, then a do-it-yourself pattern is a great way to start. Another criteria that I had was that the sewing book would teach you a variety of skills. Here's one of the skills that I loved in this book because it's really fashionable right now and it's a wonderful skill to learn, and it doesn't really have to be difficult, and that is color blocking. And so Daisy has shown you how to do it in this book, and the skirt is a really simple skirt. And you can see it's really beautiful. There's a whole bunch of how-tos. For example, how to make continuous bias binding. I mean, that is something that a beginning sewist might not know how to do. And so now after reading this, very simple, very easily explained. And so you would be able to pick up how to do that. Another one is how to make neckline template. Another one, how to put in a casing or how to make inseam pockets. So some really nice how-tos in this book. My fifth criteria is, does the book have well-written instructions? Well, I definitely can say that this book does. And what I really liked is that they were not only well-written, but they were simple. Because not all sewing books that teach you how to do things are always well written and simple and easy to understand. So very good on that. What I really enjoy about this book is that the patterns inside, because they are based on your own measurements, are going to fit you. The type of information that I'm putting out is how curvy sewists can have access to patterns that can fit any size, right? And I think all women really like that too, because, we're all unique and none of us really have that absolutely perfect figure. I mean, if you do, hats off to you, but so many of us don't. One of them that I absolutely love for a curvy person was the balloon sleeve dress, and they're really attractive. So it doesn't matter if you're quite slim, like many of the models that are in this book are, or you are a bigger person like myself. And in fact, she does show that if we can make patterns for ourselves that are going to easily fit us, then we feel great in them. My last criteria was that the book would be inspiring, and I really am inspired by this book. I think you would be too. Daisy really likes to challenge you to take a few risks. She's got some ways of doing things that are a little bit different, and I thought that's really cool because she's trying to put in her own style to do something a new and unique way. For example, I had never seen a gathered collar like this before. And, why not? A lot of the clothing that is in here might not suit me personally. I will say that because I'm an older person. So, I mean, I love scrunchies actually, but I might not make a scrunchie that is as big as this one for myself. I don't really think it would suit me. I mean, this was a present to me from my husband. He walked in the door and gave this to me. And I was really happy about it because as I looked through it, I went, oh, I want to make this. And, oh, I want to make that. And, I love that. I love that it's so easy. So no doubt I will be making these outfits this year. And I'll be picking fabric that I really like, that I think suits me. And love the fact that they're nice and loose, easy to make, based on my own measurements, and also that it's just inspired me to try different things. By the way, DC is an Australian sewist, and I was very pleased about that because, as you may or may not know, I live in Australia. I live in Canberra. So it was really neat to see. Another thing that she had in common with me was that she went overseas for a while and was sewing in Asia, and I did that too. Okay, the next book I wanted to talk about is a book by Carole Anne Camp. And Carole Anne Camp is an American sewist. I picked up this book in about the very end of 2013, and it was published in 2011. So at the time, I was staying with my mom in Canada and visiting her, and I was about to go to the country of Brunei and teach there. And so I went down to a local store in Surrey, BC. It was a fabric store, and I was looking around for patterns that I could take and sew when I got to Brunei. And the store had this wonderful book. It was part of the Teach It Yourself Visually series. Now, at that time, YouTube was really still rather young, and that made a big difference to me because one of the things about this book is that the instructions are really visual. And for me, that really helped me. So I can say that this book was wonderful because I could take this book with me to Brunei and I could use it to look up, again, do-it-yourself patterns that I could make. So that was what attracted me to this book, but also that it had a lot of good instructions. Now, like I say, I've used this book so many times. In fact, I consider it a reference book that on my table that I come back to. And even though I know some of the skills very well, I still really like going back to this book and looking at the instructions because she does it so well. By the way, I was pretty impressed with Carole Anne Camp. Carole Anne Camp is like a Renaissance woman. She's done so many things, not just sewing. So she has a very interesting life. Okay. So let's see if it can meet the criteria. So the first criteria was learning levels that would suit maybe my audience, that beginning sewists. Yes, absolutely. This is a very good book for beginning sewists. And what I really like is that she's going to teach you all along the way. So for example, right from the beginning, I mean, if you take a look at the table of contents, you can see how she really, really is teaching you. It's almost like a course on sewing. Chapter 1, tools and materials. Chapter 2, technique reviews. So you're learning things like how to put in casings, how to do closures. There's an enormous amount of material in here. Chapter 3, sewing from a pattern. Okay, so she's teaching you all about patterns and how to read them. Chapter 4, really important. Now, this is where she's pushing a beginning sewer. She's gradually moving you into harder skills, finding the right fit. And this was one of the first times that I came across the idea of using a muslin, which I was so glad to do. Another thing that she teaches you, though, is using, when you have a tissue pattern, of how to place it up against yourself and be able to see the fit just from the tissue pattern. Okay, hems and hemlines, waistline treatments, necklines, armholes, and straps, and then a whole chapter on skirts. This chapter 12, recycle, refurbish, and repair. I think we've already are meeting the second criteria of easy sewing projects that are aimed at teaching you more. Well, definitely. And moving into category 3, which was do-it-yourself patterns, this book not only teaches you a variety of do-it-yourself patterns, but it also teaches you a bit about not only the drafting, but also advice about fitting yourself. Great. So, for example, there are some simple skirt patterns in here that you can actually draft out yourself and draft a pair of pants. And you know what? Even though this was published some years ago, these are classic styles. So all you have to do is decide on the fabric that you want to use this year and, how you want to sew it. And these are really, really classic patterns. So I know that they would suit people for years to come. The tops, 3 different types of tops, types of dresses that you can use yourself and just make them based on your measurements. Absolutely great. Another criteria was number 4, teaches skills. Well, that is why I say to you that this is a reference book that would be absolutely great for a beginning sewist, because at the very beginning of the book, she talks about different skills. She's got several ways of putting in casings, types of shaping, how to use darts, and how to put in pleats and tuck, how to use iron-on transfers. She's really got a lot in here. I just absolutely love this. Would I say that the language is as simple and easy as Daisy Braid's language? No, not quite. It's a little bit more difficult, but I don't really think you would find it hard. I sometimes would reread and slow down, but it's just so worth it because the instructions are so good. Another criteria, number 6, was, would this be a good book for women of all different sizes? Would curvy women or petite women like it? Would the average woman like the patterns and the advice in here? And I can definitely say yes to that, because again, do-it-yourself patterns that are based on your own measurements, so they're going to fit you. But also, the patterns are just so easy for anyone to wear. Here's another rectangle dress. Anybody can wear that. Another one is their 3-tiered skirt, and it's really lovely. It's sort of a boho feel. She also has a section on cloning your own pants, which I think is really fun and something that a lot of us really enjoy doing. So yeah, it's meeting the criteria that people from different sizes could use the instructions here and use the patterns and benefit from it. Is it inspiring? And I have to say that by using this book and going through it and really reading it, yeah, definitely you would be inspired. I mean, for example, one of the sections in the back I really got a lot from. I mean, this was one of the first places that I thought about using Godot. But not only using them, because I've used putting in like a triangle piece to add extra width to a section of a pattern, or when I'm doing refashioning garments. But also, I really like the way that she did it in different tones, and it gave a really fun feel to it. Or using lace in different ways, things that you can do with t-shirts to bring them in, boxy t-shirts that you could make more feminine, or that you could actually sew into a dress. Really full of so many creative, inspirational ideas that, yes, bingo, it did hit number 7 criteria. That's my 2 books for today. One that was published some time ago, and I think it would be a classic book that should be used by many different sewists, and one that's more current and only came out, a year ago, but has got so much to it. One book that was from a sewist in America, and one book from a sewist in Australia. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. I would really love to hear a comment below if you have used these books before, or what kind of sewing books that you particularly have enjoyed. I've also left some links below for where you could find these books and for other helpful information for you. Thanks again. Bye for now.